All right.
So by like
All right, guys. We will be getting started in a few minutes here. I'm just gonna let everyone in. Let me know in the chat if you guys can hear me loud and clear, and we will be jumping straight into it. I see a thumbs up from Joseph. I appreciate that. And we will be getting started. Guys, just give me 1 second here. We have a lot of people jumping in, so I just need to make sure I let everyone in. Da 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 da.
knock it off 500 on the top of the
But guys, I hope everyone is having a good Friday afternoon. I'm sure all of you guys are excited to jump into the weekend as well. But we don't end off Friday early, so we're gonna, end off Friday with the bang, and we can all have a good weekend. But I'm just gonna quickly check chat, ensure no one's having any technical difficulties, and then we should get the show rolling. All right, I see a bunch of note takers that are jumping in as well. But guys, we'll get started in about 2 minutes. So I just want to make sure everyone jumps in and everyone can find the Zoom room. And then we will be getting started shortly. All right. Just need to ensure this is being recorded as well. And then we'll be getting started. But I hope everyone is doing well. Let me know in the chat, guys. Do you guys have any plans for the weekend? Any dinners that are planned or anything that you guys have been working on? Feel free to share it with the group. And yeah, let's get everyone, sort of engaging with one another. All right. Da, da, da. Let me just quickly check chat. Uh, Candace says first day of spring. That's always good to go. That's always good. Watching the Peaky Blinders movie. Now that is still on my list as well. I'm a huge Peaky Blinders fan. I've seen the entire, I've seen all of the seasons for Peaky Blinders, but the movie is the one thing that's still remaining on my list. So I still need to watch that as well. Candace says outdoor anything this weekend. Yeah, for those of you that have good weather and you guys have spots where you can, go for a hike, go take a look at some views. I mean, for example, we're based out of Vancouver, so we have great views, awesome scenery, great mountains. So now if someone's an outdoor person, Vancouver's a great place to be. But guys, we'll get started. I want to ensure that I don't take up too much of your guys' time. We do have 2 hours blocked off for today's entire call. Um, and let's jump straight into it. Let me just make sure everyone's here. All right. Okay, guys, let me know in the chat if you guys can see my screen. Just let me know in the chat. All I need is just 1 or 2 people that can say that. Kind of says yes. Awesome. We'll jump straight into it. So, guys, on today's workshop, which is something that we conduct once a month, we're going to be going through marketing as a whole, basically everything that we're doing internally as a company for you, and some of the stuff that you also should be aware of, and some of the stuff that you should also be doing on your end. This is a two-party partnership. It cannot work with the other party. So we just need to ensure that everyone is sort of on the same page, and we're doing whatever is required from our end, and you're able to do whatever is required from your end. So today's going to be action packed, and it's going to have a lot of information. So guys, for some of you that don't know me, I just want to make sure I sort of do a quick introduction on myself. So I am the co-founder here at agent attraction.io. and just some of the credentials and some of a quick background story on myself as well. We've been in business since 2019. We've worked with a president of a publicly traded real estate brokerage as well. This is a real estate brokerage that has over 80,000 real estate agents. I'm sure you guys can sort of guess, which brokerage that was. And so far to date, we have worked with over 3,000 clients since 2019. And that ranges all the way from real estate agents to team leaders to real estate brokers. And so essentially up the entire ladder. And currently, just internally as a company, we're managing hundreds and thousands of dollars per month in simply advertising. And not only are we spending our clients' hard-earned money. So, for example, if you're part of the BAP system and you're funding $50 a day, $100 a day towards advertising so you can generate agent leads. The marketing, the ads, the scripting, the videos that we're creating for you, that we're posting on your ads manager, that is coming from all of the split testing, all of the experiments, and essentially everything that we've done to date. Not only are we spending your money, but we're also actively spending our own money marketing our company to real estate brokers, team leaders like yourself. So not only are we doing it internally as a company, and that is how we're growing, but we're also doing it for you as a customer and as a client for agentattraction.io. So as you guys can see, I just quickly pulled up my ads manager. So this is sort of like behind the scenes if you were to run Facebook and Instagram ads on your own. But just in the past 30 days, we spent about 160 grand of our own money marketing and attracting folks like you over to us. So whatever strategies that we're learning on a national level, we're taking the best of the best and we're implementing in your local market. So we're doing it at a much larger scale. So whatever is working, whatever is not working, we do less of what's not working and do more of what's working, and we sort of implement it in your market area. Now, personally, myself and my co-founder, we built a 8-figure company by the age of 25. We bootstrapped this company. We never took any funding. We never took any loans. We don't have any investor money. Like I said, we're based out of Vancouver, BC, Canada. And, we were nominated 30, we got the 30 under 30 within our province, sort of like, a state within the United States. And we were also nominated by Forbes. But this is just a quick little introduction on myself, just so you have a clear understanding that, I am someone that you can listen to. And the advice or the knowledge or the education that I do present, it does hold some weight to it. So, before we jump in, I just want to make sure I let everyone in. We have over 30, and we still have more people joining in. We have almost 40 people that are live, and we're also going to have far more that are going to be looking at the entire recording once it is completed. So guys, before we jump into today's workshop, which is related to marketing, I want to start off with a few and just some mindset shifts that I do want you guys to have before we sort of jump in. So on a fundamental level, what is learning on a fundamental level, right? So I've gone to school, you guys have gone to school, you've taken a real estate exam, so on and so forth. What is learning on a fundamental level? Learning is essentially the same condition, but a new behavior. So let me give you an example. If I'm cold calling and, I start off with a script, maybe I have an introductory line. Maybe there's some specific tonality that I use when I start the cold call. That is one process that I'm following. Now, if a mentor or a coach or someone who's crushing it with cold calling comes to me and says, hey, this is what you're doing right, this is what you're doing wrong, here's a better script that you can use, I want you to implement this to your next 100 cold calls. If I take that knowledge and I don't implement it, I haven't learned anything. Because in the same condition, I'm still doing the same thing that I was doing before. right? So another example, say I'm drinking water, and say I'm like 5 years old and I'm drinking water, and I just keep drinking, and my mouth overflows, and now there's water leaking out of my mouth. If my parents tell me to, hey, when your mouth fills up with water, you need to stop drinking. If I don't change that behavior in the future, the next time that I drink water, then I haven't really learned anything. So the basic gist of today's presentation is I want everyone to walk away from today's workshop and be able to implement at least 1 to 3 big things that I did talk about. Only then it was worthwhile for you to take 2 hours out on a Friday afternoon when you can be doing so many different things. I mean, you're a busy individual. It's only going to be worthwhile if you actually go out there and implement whatever is being taught. And we put a lot of effort and energy and time behind today's presentation. So um, this is something that really sticks out to me. This is something that it's a phrase that I learned from someone else. Is they said success stops when you don't know how to do something, right? So success stops when you don't know how to do something. So if you're stuck anywhere in your business right now, maybe you have agents that are coming to you, by your bottleneck is that you're not able to convert them. If you don't try to solve that one constraint, which is related to conversion, you have you have inflow coming in, but you're not able to solve conversion. Until you solve that one constraint, until you figure out how to solve it, you're always going to be stuck in the same spot. And sometimes people tend to get stuck for years until someone calls them out. So as we're going through today's presentation, uh, a meta skill that everyone should have that is part of our community is that they should have the meta skill of the ability to figure things out. In today's workshop, I can't physically, of course, because of a time constraint, I can't go through everything. Like, hey, uh, um, if you're going to be following up, you need to first log into your CRM. No, first you have to open up the app on your phone. Then you need to log in. Then you need to click on the conversations. Then you have to click on a lead, and then you have to click the phone icon, and then you have to call them, and then you have to say the following script. These are little things that you're responsible for figuring out. So these are sort of like the micro skills, but I'm gonna more so be talking more so on a macro level. So I'm sort of chunking up. So the meta skill of the ability to figure things out, we sort of expect you to sort of, have that skill set. And if you don't, of course, we have a lot of support, so you can always, reach out to support and we can help you with that. But if we have, let you into this community, into our customer base, I mean, we believe you have the skill. Otherwise, you would not be a broker, a team leader and doing well. But in today's workshop as well, um, I'm gonna cover a lot of basics. I'm gonna get into the nitty-gritty. I'm gonna go super in-depth as well. But I'm gonna start off with the basics because a lot of times we just need to be reminded of the fundamentals more than we need to be taught new material. A lot of times, we know exactly what needs to be done, but we get so stuck on learning the new that we don't even optimize the basics, right? So for example, uh, I have a bad habit of every year buying a new Apple product. I have a really bad habit of buying the new Apple iPhone. I don't even know what the new feature is. I don't even know what the new benefit is. If I see an ad or I see some sort of a tweet that, oh, there's the new Apple iPhone 17, I'm just going out there and buying blindly for no reason. Um, it's because I just want the new. I just want to have all the new gadgets. I just want to have the new tech. Now that in business may not serve you because you may have something that is proven, but you just completely neglect it. So although as humans, we naturally want to, always go for that new stuff. We just want to learn new stuff. We cannot forget the basics. So a lot of the stuff that I'm going to be covering today is going to be related to basics and the fundamentals. So let's jump straight into the theory of constraints. Now, some of you may have heard of this uh, concept. Others may have not heard of this concept called the theory of constraints. But basically, that image, that diagram is a really good representation of what a constraint is. But every business, regardless of the business you're in, has a constraint. Every business. And what is a constraint? So, for example, there's flow coming in, and then there's sort of like a bottleneck here. There's something that is squeezing it where you have less going through, right? So there's likely something in your business right now that is a constraint. So in order to deconstrain it, we use leverage. So I'm going to be getting more into examples and analogies of what exactly I mean. But say, so my father back home was a farmer, so which is why I sort of came up with this analogy. But imagine if I had to dig a hole in the ground. I just had to pull some, dirt down. There's a lot of different ways that I can sort of approach that problem. There's a lot of different ways that I can solve that problem. Well, number one, I can use my hands. Of course, that it's going to be very slow. My hands are going to get dirty. Hands are not going to have that much power. And then, over time with evolution, people discovered shovels. And now you can dig even more dirt with less effort and you can get it done faster. And then over time, through evolution came bulldozers. So with that, now you can dig up massive amount of holes, using machines and using technology, and you can get far more output for very little input. So, with this example in mind, step one is you need to identify what the constraint in your business is. So every business at any given point has one constraint. So businesses grow until they're constrained and then they stop. So we'll get into specific examples that apply for you as a real estate broker or team leader when it comes to recruiting. But this is a important concept that I sort of wanted to cover before I sort of jumped into the marketing specifics. So let's get into some examples that I think all of you guys will find useful. So one constraint, as an example, could be related to time, right? You're a business owner, you're an entrepreneur. If you guys all take a look at one another, everyone's at an age where you likely possibly have kids. You're managing a family, maybe you're married, but there's a very high chance that you're still maybe some of you guys are still selling real estate. You're managing a lot of people. If you're a business owner, you know how painful and time consuming it can really be if you're having to deal with an accountant, with a tax strategist, legal, and then at the same time, you're trying to manage your health. And then you're also at the same time trying to, spend time with your family. There's so many different things that we're trying to juggle at the same time that the constraint here becomes that you don't have any time. So what do we do? How do we solve this constraint? If you know exactly what you need to do in order to recruit more people, but you're constrained by time, how do we solve that problem? What do we got to do to solve that problem? So now imagine, now this would depend, on your brokerage, but one agent on average could be worth, $20,000 to your bottom line. It could be worth 10K, it could be 20K, it could be worth 30K. Now, if you do not know that math, that is another problem, but I'm going to sort of put that aside. I'm going to assume everyone here knows how much one agent is worth to your bottom line. As a business owner, you're responsible for knowing how much one agent adds to your net income profit. I'm talking about the bottom line, what is left after all expenses. So for example, I know on top of mind how much one client is worth to me in terms of profit. I know how much, I know how much each employee or team member is worth to my bottom line, right? So we take a look at this as sort of an investment. You should have that number, and that number should be very clear in your mind. So now, if we had to solve this constraint where you don't have any time, how do we solve this constraint? Well, there's two different ways that we can solve a constraint. It can either be done through tech, or it can be done through skills, which is a form of leverage, which I'll be getting into. But the only solution, number one is you can either try buying back your time with the AI, right? So if there's a lot of stuff that you do, maybe you can quickly use AI, maybe ChatGPT, Claude, and get some problem solved, in your life. But if that is not possible, the only way to solve this problem is that you will possibly need to hire another team member. That may mean that you have to hire a full-time recruiter. And so in this example, you're having to buy back your time by hiring another team member. And yes, you will have to pay, 4 to 5K a month, the average salary for a recruiter, which will be a 60K investment. But that allows an additional 40 hours that now you can delegate to a third person. Now that time, I mean, for example, if you're paying a recruiter 60K a year, but that recruiter brings in one agent per month, at the end of 12 months, now you have 20 times 12. You now have, an addition for you're putting in 60K to make back 240K if that average recruiter brings in one agent per month that ends up producing. Okay. So there's different ways to solve constraints, but step number one is you need to identify what that constraint is, which is the most important part. At any given point, your business is going to have one constraint, and businesses grow until they're constrained, and then they stop growing. Okay, so the hand versus shovel was a good example. Now, what are some examples of a leverage? Because once you do identify a constraint, we want to apply leverage to it. How do we apply leverage? How do we get more output for less input? How do we get more out for less input? So what are some examples of leverage? Well, number one, money, right? For example, once you reach a certain point in your career, in your your personal finances, eventually, you start sitting on a pile of cash, and you exchanging your time for money, and you trying to exchange your hours for dollars. Sometimes it becomes more sense that you now need to invest your hard-earned cash into a vehicle that can eventually compound over time, so you can go from rich to being wealthy, which is a huge difference. So, if you have money, first off, money sitting in the bank, it's a complete waste, which we're all aware of. But if you have money, setting aside that, that you can reinvest, one example of leverage, if you want to bring more people into your world, more people putting ads on your brokerage, one of the ways to do so is you can run paid ads, right? Which is exactly what we do, and which we will be getting into. But if we had to solve the constraint of getting more attention from real estate agents in your market, think of cold calling, which is one-to-one, and then think of running paid ads. Cold calling, it takes time, right? You gotta take time out of your day, and then you're reaching out to people one-to-one in a one-to-one manner. So you can only talk to one person at a time. Compare and contrast that to paid ads, where you're talking to people one-to-many. You could talk to 10 people at one time. You could talk to 100 people at one time. You could talk to 5,000 people at one time. But there's far more leverage, right? In this example, if you have money, right? So if you're a part of the BAP system, we're recommending that you spend $50 a day, $100 a day, right? And the reason why we recommend that, and the reason why that is part of the solution, is because there's far more leverage in that scenario. So this is sort of like running paid ads, right? So paid ads, one-to-many, you can talk to many people at one time, but you do got to spend money, and it's much faster. Cold calling, much harder. You're gonna get rejected. You're gonna break status. You're gonna break rapport, and of course, you're gonna end up attracting the wrong agent too. Otherwise, who's gonna leave for a much better offer quickly. But that is one form of leverage, right? So I'll be getting into more examples of this as well. Another form of leverage is using other people's time and skills, which falls under the bracket of labor, right? So if you're a busy individual and you feel like that you can't grow because you're constrained by time, it may mean that you're finally in a position where you now need to hire another team member and need to hire a recruiter, someone who can potentially. So if you're part of the BAP system, you already have leads coming to you. You have people that are booking onto your calendar. You have conversations that are being started. But if you don't even have time to reach out to them, to call them, to have a conversation with them, no matter what we do, I mean, we can do everything in the world. These people are not going to convert. They're not going to walk into brokerage. They're not going to join a brokerage. So if that is a constraint, How do we solve that constraint with leverage? Well, we can hire another team member, we can hire a recruiter, and that individual now has 40 hours per week to have those conversations, to do those presentations, to do those Zoom meetings with a prospective agent. Okay, so that is another form of leverage. Another form of leverage is brand reputation. Now, I can go so deep on brand and reputation, but that would be reserved for another masterclass. But in today's day and age, everyone does research, right? So, for example, before you started working with us, I'm likely assuming that you did research. Maybe you have a dinner date today, and before booking the restaurant or the reservations, you likely took a look at the reviews. And if you saw a restaurant with 5 reviews versus a restaurant with 100 reviews, you likely were gonna favor the restaurant with the 100 reviews. So if you don't have some sort of social proof, either on Trustpilot, of course, you gotta pay money to get on Trustpilot, or on Google reviews, or even on like Facebook pages or whatever, you're leaving a lot of money on the table. So brand reputation is one form of leverage. Let's think of for example, Ryan Serhant, right? He's a really good example of someone that is crushing it. Of course, he's on Netflix. He has a huge YouTube channel, a huge social media following, but he has a tremendous amount of leverage simply because of the effort that he put in years ago into content, into building his brand, into building his reputation. So that is another form of leverage. So if you're not already trying to build a brand, and which I'll be getting into some tactics, you're definitely missing out on a ton. But content is of course another one. This also comes down to conversions as well, right? So if you're having a lot of conversations with agents and they're just not moving, and they're always coming up with some sort of an excuse, it could be that you don't have much leverage because of your brand reputation. And then the fourth one is tech, right? So very similar to your real estate business, if you've worked with Zillow leads, if you've been a Zillow Flex partner, or you've ran your own ads on Facebook or Instagram, or maybe you've done some Google PPC, you have leads coming in, whether it's a buyer or a seller. But with automation, with tech, with technology, we have CRMs in place, like you have Follow Up Boss, you have Go High Level, which is a pretty popular one. You can follow up with every lead with an email, an SMS, and you can put these people on email and text drip sequences. Now, if you're not doing that on the recruiting side, imagine how much money you're leaving on the table. So that is something that we're also doing for you, which I'll be getting into, but that is also another form of leverage. We're using technology there, right? So whatever funnel you have in your real estate business, when it comes to selling houses, maybe you're still selling, maybe you stopped selling and now you're mainly just running your brokerage. But that's just one example that if you've done it on the buyer and seller lead gen side, I mean, you got to be doing it on the recruiting side too. It is the exact same thing. It is a funnel. And then triple dipping, this is just another example of a leverage. But what this basically means is that there's certain things that you can do in your business that you could just get far more out of. So let me give you an example. So for example, it's like one input, but you get 3 outputs out of one thing. So let me give an example. Say you get an agent who maybe joined a brokerage last year. Maybe they were a brand new agent and you brought them on, but through your coaching, through your help, through your support, within 1 year, they started averaging maybe 1 deal every 2 months. Maybe they're making, $5K a month, or maybe they're making $10K a month. That individual could now record some sort of a testimonial, or maybe they can sit down with you, for a quick interview. Now, what can you do with that one piece of content? What can you do with the one piece of content? With a testimonial or some sort of an interview with a new agent that joined a brokerage, and now it is sort of a case study. What can you do with that sort of piece of content? Well, number one, that can go on your website, right? There's a huge amount of leverage in that. Now, anytime you're running an ad, or your face is on Facebook, or your face is on Instagram, or maybe you're even promoting your own listing, that agent, whoever's interested, they're likely going to do research on you. Anyways, that is a proven fact. They're going to go on your website. Now imagine if on your website you just had a bunch of case studies and testimonials and social proof. If you're missing that piece, it's going to be very hard for you to convert an agent. So for example, I'll get into the examples a little bit later on. But that same piece of content can also turn into an ad, right? So for example, say you have this, testimonial or this video that an agent recorded for you. You can send it over to us, and then now we can even turn that into an ad, and we can retarget all the people that are, clicking on your ads, opting in, and watching your ads, and that will help with conversion. Imagine an agent sees your ad, right? They opt in, they give you their name, email, and phone number, and then you get that lead. And then they fill out this whole application because they want to apply, they want to learn more about what you have to offer, and they book a call on your calendar. Imagine before even jumping onto a call with you, they got retargeted by this, client case study or this agent success story or this, piece of content, this unique piece of content. That is tremendously going to help the conversion rate. That same piece of content can also be turned into a Facebook and Instagram post, right? So these are different forms of leverage. If you have limited time, which we all do, we have 24 hours in a day, you need to be putting your time on activities, on tasks that are going to have the greatest amount of output. So the key is least amount of input, the greatest amount of output. What is the most amount that you can get out for the least amount of in a way? Okay. So let's go into another example when we're talking about identifying a constraint and then applying leverage to that constraint. Let's say right now you're in a position, in your market, at your brokerage where you feel like you're competing on price, you're competing on money, you're competing on splits. Maybe you're competing against fees, on fees, or these 100% commission brokerages. What that is doing is because you're competing on price, your margins are coming down, right? So the net margin of a brokerage is coming down each month or year over year. And because you're making less money, you could potentially be going to the red. And because you're competing on split, because you're competing on money, and you're going to an agent and saying like, hey, you're gonna make more money working here because we only take a 5% cut, or we only charge so and so per transaction, you're gonna attract the wrong type of agent. So not only are you making less money, you're attracting the wrong type of agent, right? Think about when you're working with like a $2 million home buyer with versus a 500,000 home buyer. There's a huge difference in the type of client that you're working with. The agent is the same thing as well, right? So if you're just competing a price and you're just saying like, oh, we have 100% commissions or whatever, you're going to attract a low quality agent who will also leave just as fast when another brokerage down the road comes out with an even better offer. It's sort of like, if you run a gas station, right? If I had a gas station here and then we're charging $2 and another one down the road is charging $1.50, another one's going even lower, it's sort of like, you're just competing on pricing. So how do you solve that constraint? How do we solve that problem? What is the highest leverage solution to that one problem? Well, to begin with, we need to compete on value, where we're able to charge more. So because if you're able to charge more, you have more profit. If you're making more money, you're going to be far more motivated. And because you're more motivated, you're now willing to reinvest it back into further recruiting. Now you're bringing in even more people. And when the market picks up, agents are going to start closing more deals, which is even more profit back to you. Now you have greater success stories. You can now take those greater success stories and you can promote it even further. It turns into a flywheel, right? But it all starts with you have to compete on value. But how do you compete on value? Well, rather than the first point of contact being with another agent, rather than that being through a cold call or through a cold text, which is going to destroy your status and it's going to make you come off as needy. A better way to do so is you attract through high quality video ads, and one video can reach thousands of agents. So these are just some examples that I'm giving you, and I'll get into specifics, but that is just one example. And if you just go after higher quality agents that just produce more, they're going to become better case studies, and they're also going to recruit more people for you. But this is just another example of a solution to a constraint. But the bottom line here is that you need to identify what the constraint is What is stopping your business from growing? What is sort of the bottleneck? You need to identify the constraint, and then you throw an atomic bomb at that constraint in order to solve that one constraint. We all have limited time, right? We have limited time, energy, resources, money, but there is an unlimited amount of options. There's like a million different things that we can do. You can even invest into real estate. You can be buying commercial buildings. You could be doing triple net. You could be doing rentals, Airbnbs. You can be selling houses. You can go upmarket, luxury. I mean, you can even join a cloud-based virtual brokerage. You could even build a downline. There's like a million different things that you can do. But with a limited amount of resources, we need to prioritize. So you need to identify that one constraint, prioritize, and prioritization is essentially strategy. What is strategy? If we think about it on a fundamental level, strategy is basically prioritization. It is an elimination of alternatives, right? So for the married folks that are on the call, of course, I'm not married. Like what is commitment? Commitment to your partner is just elimination of all other alternatives, everyone else, right? So strategy is essentially prioritization. What are your priorities, right? So as a business owner, as someone that is running your business, you're potentially the CEO, the founder, the managing partner. You're the chief allocator of resources. There's a million different things that we can do. But if you want to get the highest return on your time, you want to have exponential growth. You need to identify the constraint, solve it, and move on. Okay. This is the way I sort of look at business as well. So now when we have a constraint, whenever there's a problem, right? There's always a lot of different solutions. So think of a mountain, right? There's a lot of different ways that you can get up to a mountain. What are some different ways that we can get up to a mountain? Well, we can hike. We can get dropped off from a helicopter. You can go up with a gondola. I mean, there's like a million different things that you can do to get up a mountain. But what is the fastest way to get up there? What is the easiest way? And what is the least riskiest way? So for example, if you had to generate more name, emails, and phone numbers of agents that are interested in your brokerage, what are the different ways that you can solve that problem? Well, if you're part of the BAP system, you can increase your ad spend, right? That is one way. So if you're spending $50 a day and you're generating about 2 leads a day, maybe one, if you want to generate more interest, well, you can just double ad spend. You can go from 50 to 100. That is a fundamental. That is sort of like a basic, right? So if you're part of the BAP system, I'm sure, we've recommended, like our internal team has recommended that, hey, we believe that, your cost to recruit a new agent is possibly 500, maybe it's 250, 300. And maybe the backend team, the internal team, the support team recommended to you that, hey, I believe that the best highest risk adjusted return for your time is that you should be upping your ad budget. Now, if you're not upping your ad budget, you're potentially just leaving money on the table. And that is really the best thing that you can do to really get up the mountain, right? So that is one way to get more interest, to get more people coming in. Another way is that you could even make better ads. Now, I'll show you guys some examples of better ads. But if you've opted in for our white labeled ads, which is an additional add-on service that we do have, this is sort of just an example of one of the ads where we make them better and make them higher quality, just to give an example.
Here's what most agents think they need to close more deals. They think they need to make more cold calls, door knock more neighborhoods, buy more Zillow leads, post more on social media, work more open houses, spend more money on marketing. And look, some of that might get you a deal here and there, but if you just want to close your first deal in the next 60 days without doing all of that, let us give you a much simpler path. Join a brokerage that actually puts you in front of buyers and sellers. That's us. We guarantee you'll close your first deal within 60 days of joining. If you don't, it's on us. We waive your fees. You keep everything. Is that sexy? Not really, but it works. Here's why we can make this guarantee when other brokerages won't. We actually invested in building a system that generates opportunities for our agents. Real appointments with real buyers and sellers who actually want to move. We're not asking you to figure it out yourself. We're not handing you a CRM login and saying good luck. We're putting qualified opportunities on your calendar and giving you the support to close them. Most brokerages recruit you and then leave you on your own. That's why most agents burn out.
Okay, so you guys get the point, but if we had to generate better and more agent leads, we're just trying to get more name, emails, and phone numbers. We're just trying to get more interest by realtors in your local market. Well, one way is you just spend more money, right? So you can just do more of whatever's working. Second way is you can do things better, right? So for example, if you're spending $50 a day, you're getting 1 or 2 people coming in per day. You can get potentially 3 or even 4 if you just make better advertisements. Now, if you're a client and you're simply recording your own advertisements and you're recording your own video, if you're not satisfied with the video or the conversion rate is not high, well, one of the ways that we can get more people coming in, one of the ways that we can get up the mountain to solve that problem of getting more agents is we can simply just make the video ad better. And what are some different ways that we can make a video ad better? Let's think about that. Well, number one, better lighting, we can get better editing. We can get a better background. We can get a higher quality mic. We can get better positioning of the camera. There's so many different ways that we can make an advertisement better. If you take a look at, if you've recorded your own ads and you genuinely like sit down for like 5 minutes and play your ads and you watch them, if you wouldn't click on your own ad, personally, this is sometimes a hard conversation that you need to have with yourself. If you wouldn't even click on your own ad, maybe it's time that you have to record new ads and just get better at that skill set. You're in the game, even when you're a real estate agent, you're selling houses, you're in the game of being a marketer. So you have to learn how to market yourself anyways. So you've already done that for your real estate side, but when it comes to recruiting, we shouldn't half-ass the video recordings. So, of course, if you're a client and you feel like, super busy, maybe you feel like you're not good in front of a camera, maybe just simply don't have the time, maybe you don't have the camera equipment for whatever reason. You don't even need crazy cameras. You can run our white labeled ads, or we can even record custom ads with our set of professional actors and actresses. Different locations. We have a whole studio that we book out. You can also opt in for that service. But if you feel like that you wouldn't even click on your own ads, that is one constraint that we may need to solve, right? So if you're spending $50 a day, you're not even having one person come in per day. That is sort of a problem. That is sort of a constraint, and I'll get more into that, right? But that is just one example. And this is something that we do, which is optimizing your ads, better conversions, which I'll be getting into. But like I said, there's so many different ways that we can get more people coming in. We can do more, we can do better, we can do the optimization, which our internal team is doing. Another thing that you can do is you can also be posting content, right? Which is posting on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, so on and so forth. But the bottom line here is that you want to do them all, or the one that you think you're most likely to succeed with first, and then start working your way down, right? So do the one that you feel is least riskiest, is the easiest to do, and it's going to be the fastest path to success. That is likely the option that you want to be going with, right? So like I said, there's so many different ways to solve a problem. If you just want to bring in more people from the front end, but you just want to pick the one that is the least riskiest, fastest, and the easiest to do. Now, if you feel like your ads are the constraint, of course, our internal team can talk to you about the white labeled versions and the custom ads. But if you're recording your own ads, which is not a problem, you can simply do so with your own iPhone camera, and you just gotta potentially get better lighting. Maybe record it in your car. If you have a nice car with nice red leather, That is something that you can have in the background. It contrasts very well with Facebook, which are like blue branding. So red and blue are going to contrast very well. So these are just some little tactics to really get the conversions to increase, right? But now let's talk about compounding, right? So guys, I'm getting to the tactics, but there's a lot of pre-frames and a lot of fundamentals that I wanted to cover. But the last one that I wanted to cover is, okay, once you identify a constraint, you identify a problem, which is preventing growth, you apply leverage to it. How do we apply leverage? Well, we can use someone else's time, someone else's labor. We can use money. If you have capital, you can put money into it. We can use technology. We can use AI. So for example, if you're not using ChatGPT by now, please do. Please do yourself a favor. Download the ChatGPT app on your phone. And you can get things that would have otherwise took hours 5 years ago. You can get that stuff done within like a few minutes now. But once you apply leverage to a problem, you want to unlock compounding. So let me break this down. Leverage gets you more for what you put in. Compounding means that the more keeps growing without you adding more. So the way I want you to think about this is think about a fruit tree. You plant this tree one time. Year 1, you may get like 5 apples. Year 2, you may get 20. Year 3, you get 100. So basically, you planted this tree one time, but you're getting more out of it as time goes on, which is compounding, right? So who said this? I think it was Warren Buffett or Albert Einstein. The eighth wonder of the world is a compounding interest, right? So it's sort of like if you invest $100,000 into the S&P 500 or like $1 million, year 1, it's going to compound. It's going to increase by 10%. Let's just go with the 10% average return per year. You put $1 million in, it's gonna increase by 10%. And then year 2, say it's at now 1.1 million because of the additional 100K. Now that 1.1 million is gonna now compound and increase by 10%. So over time, like you put that $1 million in one time and it's just gonna start compounding over time. And that is sort of like the 8th wonder of the world, according to Warren Buffett. But we want to unlock that sort of compounding vehicles, that compounding effect in our business too. So let's get into some examples. I just want to get everyone sort of thinking and get the ideas flowing so we can, all sort of implement by the end of today's masterclass. But 3 ways to start compounding your recruiting. First and foremost, like I said, was reputation. Say you recruit 5 people. They all close deals. They're all making more money. At the end of the day, the agent just wants to make more money. Then they tell 2 of their other buddies, two of their other friends, and then those friends tell other people, and then you didn't even run a new ad, but your reputation is doing the recruiting in a way. That is one form of having a compounding effect. It's sort of like 1 turns into 2, 2 turns into 4, and the 4 turns into 8, 8 turns into 16. It's sort of a compounding effect. Let's say retention. A lot of brokerages that we work with, a lot of the brokers that I talk to, I mean, retention is sort of a problem for basically all. Retention, very low retention, high churn, and if you could just decrease your churn rate, you can increase your retention. That alone is going to end up compounding at a rate that I imagine you would have never imagined. But not only do you want to have people coming in, but you want to have such a strong mousetrap that you don't let the leakage out, right? And there's a lot of different ways to think about that, which I'll be getting into as well. But content and brand is another one. I'll get into more specific examples as well. But an example of like compounding effect with content is, imagine if you posted a valuable video, maybe on your brokerage YouTube channel. You record that video one time. Maybe you spend, an hour recording a quick 10-minute video. Now that video is going to stay online forever. It could be bringing people in for as long as you imagine, right? With YouTube, there's SEO. So anytime you search up something on Google, it'll rank on YouTube as well, right? So, this is a bบthing as well. So for example, if you guys go to our YouTube channel as in a way, you don't have to get a crazy amount of views. A lot of people have this misconception that you have to get a crazy amount of views. If you generally think about it, if you're posting content on YouTube in your local market when it comes to recruiting, how many agents are in your market? Maybe 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, 5,000, maybe 10K, maybe 20,000 agents in your market. Um, your total addressable market, your total market size is potentially not that big. So all you need is like a few hundred views potentially, and you can build a huge business. So for example, us, uh, we've built an 8-figure company which we completely bootstrapped, and it's not like we're getting like a crazy amount of views. We're just getting the views that we know we want. We're getting the right people looking at our content. So if you're running, if you're spending money, your hard-earned dollars on marketing on Facebook and Instagram, you're doing yourself a huge disservice and your brokerage by not posting content which can further help the conversion rate for the people coming in. Okay, so these are just different ways that things can compound. So like I said, identify the constraint, attack it with leverage, and then we want things to compound. That is a basic concept of what I wanted to cover. So so before anything else, can you do more? Now, this is something that I like to ask myself, my team, really anyone. If something is working for you, the highest return move is just to do more of it. Obviously, you have the BAP system that is running in the background. We have stuff that we're doing internally for you as a company. But if you have something that is currently working for you, maybe you're promoting an event, maybe you're sponsoring an event or whatever it is that you're doing. Can you do more of it? I was watching an interview by Sharon, who was the president and CEO of Real Brokerage. And of course, they became one of the fastest growing brokerages. And in one of the interviews, he said, I identify that the constraint for my real estate brokerage, which I think by the time he left, I think they reached like a $1 billion valuation. He said, I identified that the constraint for my business is I just need to recruit and attract more real estate agents to my brokerage because if I bring in more people and there's more active agents, my valuation is going to go up. There's higher retention, so on and so forth. So he just had to bring in more, real estate agents into his brokerage. So he identified that one of the best ways to do so is he has to just go speak at events. So I kid you not, when he took Real Brokerage from, when he took them from like, I think it was 50 million, don't quote me on this, or maybe like 200 million, I could be wrong, but he took it to $1 billion. All he did every year is he spoke at over 200 events per year. Think about that. Think about the amount of effort that he put into solving that one constraint. Majority of Real Brokerage's growth came in from the speaking gigs that Sharon did. So if you identify that the biggest constraint that is holding you back from potentially adding 500K a year to your bottom line or $1 million a year to your bottom line is recruiting more people, you need to attack it. You need to attack it with all force, with your entire team if possible. So if you have something that is working for you, before even looking at anything else, you want to be asking yourself, can I do more of it? Right? So if the BAP system is working for you and you're spending $50 a day and you're generating a lot of conversations, your cost per recruit is like $500, and you know that this one agent, if he or she ends up producing, will make me 20K, 30K a year, spend more money on advertisements. Spend more money. That is the highest risk-adjusted return move that you can make. Just spend more money on marketing. You're investing money, right, for a better future. You're putting money in today for a better future. Another example is for example, like the VSL, right? For some of you, you may or may not have recorded your VSL. Maybe you're using the white labeled versions. But if you're if you're not just trying to go after an experienced agent, maybe you want to recruit a team leader, maybe you want to recruit other brokers, maybe make a VSL for them too. If something is working, do more of it. Like I said, if you're spending $1,500 a month on ad spend, push it to 3,000. Like how much would you be willing to spend if one agent is worth $20,000 to your bottom line. I would be willing to spend 5K, potentially even 10K, right? So once you have that number, then you can sort of reverse engineer how much you're willing to pay for that one recruit. Okay. So if you're already not collecting testimonials, right, get the testimonials. And then of course, following up. If you're if you're calling agents that are coming in through our system and they're talking and they're having good conversations with you, do more follow-up. Call them more than once if they don't pick up, and I just do more follow-up. But doing more is typically boring, which is sort of the reason why people don't want to do it. It is basically very, very boring. But you want to do more, basically. If something is working for you, do more. And now I want to give you guys sort of like a thinking framework when you're thinking about a problem, when it comes to identifying your constraint and finding your bottleneck, because this is sort of like the hardest part of it all. The solution is typically the easy part. Now ask yourself, can you do more of what's working? That may mean that like if Arjun reaches out to you or Arjun talks to you, you tell Arjun that, hey Arjun, you know what, we're spending about $1,500 a day, $1,500 a month. I've onboarded 4 to 5 people. My cost per recruit, cost per acquisition is about $300-400. I think Arjun, we need to scale this up because I know that each agent to me is worth about $20,000, and we just do more of it, and we just bring in more bodies, we just bring in more people. Do you have metrics to know what's working? So internally as a company, we keep metrics on every client. So for example, this is just one of the clients that I pulled up, and I was taking a look at our tracking sheet on the back end. But we track all the way from how much money we're spending on marketing and basically the amount of calls that it's booking. So for example, for this one client here, we know that on average, a lead is costing us about $20-30, about $25 to $30 on average. So in order to generate an agent to come to our brokerage client, it is costing us about $25 to $30. Out of that, in order to get an application filled out, so when I'm talking about an application, where people fill out this long quiz and they really show their interest. So for example, if I log into my internal Slack channel here, you guys can see the amount of applications that we're generating on a day-to-day basis. These are agents every single day that are completing these long-form applications. So for example, if you take a look at this, name, email, phone number, this person is currently a broker owner. Their goal is to do over 350K in GCI. Based on these metrics here, I know that for this one particular broker, it's costing us about $200 to generate this sort of application. Right? So not only do we get that agent leads deals that they've closed in the past 12 months, we understand their goal, we understand their bottleneck. So apparently this one agent doesn't have access to a system. They've been dealing with this problem for more than 2 years. They're stuck with the same income level, and they're ready to potentially move brokerages if it makes sense. So we know that on average, it's costing us about $200 to generate this sort of application, this long form application. If these metrics are in KPI, we just got to do more of this, which is why I wanted to show this to you guys. So for example, this is one of our other clients. This is their name, email, phone number. This is an agent that is doing about 6 to 15 deals a year. They're doing over 350K a year in GCI. Their bottleneck is that they're not getting enough leads from their brokerage. They're looking for the right brokerage. I refuse to stay stuck. I'm ready, and now let's do this, right? These are just some real life examples. So if you have metrics and your metrics are within KPI, sometimes like the best thing that you can do for yourself is you just got to do more of it on a fundamental level. That is on a basic level. Now, if you now there are some brokers that we talk to where because of their location, because of the market, potentially the market not being big enough, they sometimes get constrained, right? They sometimes cannot recruit, say like 500 people because of the market size. So if that is sort of your bottleneck, that is sort of your constraint, how do we solve that? How do we solve that constraint? Well, number one, we can go to a neighboring city, town, county, whatever, right? That is, of course, on a very basic fundamental level. But another thing that, of course, everyone here does have an option to is this is just me in order to service you guys to the best of my ability. If your market is a reason why you can't earn on other people's time, if your market is fundamentally the reason, like you're just in a very small market, there's not enough licensed real estate agents, the only way to get out of that is you may need to join a cloud-based or a virtual brokerage. You may have to take that step. Now, this is not me in any way, shape, or form, being incentivized by a cloud-based brokerage like Real or EXP or Fathom or ROA or whatever. But if generally the problem that you're dealing with is that your market is simply not big enough, maybe you need to have that hard conversation with myself that I can't recruit on a local level because no matter what I do, there's just not enough people. Maybe I need to start recruiting nationally, right? And now, of course, we live in a day and age where there's brokerages that are available where we have the ability to do so, right? But that is of course a personal decision, something that you would have to think for yourself. Another constraint that you could potentially be dealing with is maybe you are getting agents that are coming to you. Maybe they're booking an appointment, but they never show up, right? They never show up to their recruiting appointment or they never show up to the meeting. Now, that is not an ad problem. That is typically a funnel problem. So maybe when you do book an agent in for a meeting or for like an in-person appointment or for a phone call or for a Zoom call, maybe they're simply not being reminded of their appointment, or they're potentially have not been given a good enough reason to actually show up for that meeting. Okay. So the reason why we track every number is so we can identify what the one big constraint is, and we can solve that and we can attack it. Okay. But essentially, what I'm trying to provide you guys with is a sort of like a thinking framework that you guys can sort of think through in order to identify what the one big constraint is and how we can sort of attack it. All right. Now, I sort of like to think about, on a fundamental level, if you take a look at this black box that is on the screen, that is basically your business. You have inputs and then you have outputs, right? So when it comes to recruiting, the more agents you have coming in, that is your input. And the black box is sort of like them joining your brokerage, them getting support, training, help from you guys. And then eventually that in return turns into output, which is more closings the agent is producing. And based on the way you monetize on that one agent, you collect your fee, right? And eventually, you bring in more people, you grow your enterprise value because you have good retention, you have agents that are active, that are producing, and then of course, potentially go for that one exit. But all of the inputs, sometimes all you have to do is you just have to pull more into the black box, right? At times, sometimes all you got to do is just put more inputs in, right? So for example, like I said, if we go back to what I was saying earlier, sometimes you just need to do more. Sometimes that is typically the answer. Okay. So, you have something that is working and you just want to keep pushing through it. Now, let's get into like more of the specifics and the tactics and something that we can sort of start implementing very fast. So we'll get into the marketing piece, but before we get into the marketing piece, I'm gonna quickly take a look at the chat, guys. I'm also gonna take a quick breather. I drink a little bit of water, but if you guys have any questions or anything that you would like me to cover before we move on to the specifics and to the tactics, if you were to put that in the chat. So Angie says, how do you guarantee the leads to all these agents? What system do they use to drive buyer and seller leads? So the way you can guarantee this is we have the white label product, the white label lead generation course. So basically, in this one course that everyone here on the call gets access to, an agent can go into this course and they can start self-generating their own appointments, their own leads, and start setting up their own campaigns. And there's a lot of organic strategies in there as well. So if someone does go through that one course, you can essentially guarantee that they will generate their own leads. Okay. But there's a lot of different ways that we can sort of bring people in with. Okay. But guys, any other questions before we move on? All right. So let's get into the marketing. So everything up to this point, everything that I've talked about so far, I wanted to more so talk, more so educate on how to think, right? So thinking about theory of constraints, which is at any given point, you have one constraint that is preventing growth. Then we want to apply leverage to it, right? Sometimes you can have someone else's time, someone else's labor. Sometimes you can attack it with money. Sometimes you can use technology, right? Like, for example, the CRM example with email follow-up, text strip follow-up, that is example of using technology. And then eventually you unlock compounding growth, right? Because if you have good retention, you have good coaching, good support. When an agent does join your brokerage, they're going to retain for longer and they're going to have less people drop it off. You're going to have more people coming in. That is going to compound over time. Now, if you're generally helping people make more money as well that are joining your brokerage, they're also going to put the good word out there. I mean, they're going to let their friends know, they're going to let their families know, and everyone and their mother knows a real estate agent. So they're going to have, you're going to have referrals coming in. That is another form of compounding. If you post content, right? So if you don't want to just depend on our advertising, you want to be posting content too. Nowadays in 2026, posting content and running advertisements they go hand in hand. 5 years ago, you could throw up a Facebook ad and you'll just have people buying whatever you want them to buy or do, right? You could sell like a $10,000 product 5 years ago, just by posting an ad. But nowadays, we're sort of sitting in a trust recession, right? People have very low trust nowadays, right? You open up TikTok, there's a bunch of people making advertisements, and then you open up Instagram, and then you're getting even more bombarded, and then you open up Facebook, and there's like a million different things that are going on. People are distracted, and one of the ways that to unlock compounding is we need to post content, right? So these are sort of like the mental models. But now I want to more so talk to you guys about two problems that you need to be solving. Number one, which is not enough real estate agents know that you even exist. And for the realtors that do know you, they have not been given a good enough reason to come join your brokerage. Okay. So this is related to marketing. This falls under the bracket of marketing. Essentially, we're going to be bringing in more inflow. So you get the final output that you're looking for, which is higher agent count, more to your bottom line, and increased valuation, right? So there's a huge mentality shift that sometimes you do have to make when you are, advertising. Sometimes, we do deal with clients where, they'll run an ad, and, they'll give it 2 weeks, maybe they'll give it 3 weeks, but maybe they didn't convert an agent fast enough, right? But one of the mindset shifts that I want people to make when it comes to advertising is that we know advertising works, we know marketing works. Every big brand, every big company is doing it. If it's not working for you, then it just means that either you're not doing it right or you just haven't given it enough times where you've tried these multiple attempts to make it work. So sometimes, we do have clients that, they record their own ads, and sometimes, for whatever reason, they just don't convert. And that doesn't mean that Facebook ads don't work. That doesn't mean advertising doesn't work. It could mean that something just went wrong in the script, or something went wrong in the way that the ad was recorded, that we just have to redo it. Advertising does work. It just means that you're simply not doing it right. or you're missing a few things that that we may have pointed it out. But like I said, marketing is not a slot machine, it's a science experiment. Every time you do something, it sort of teaches you what to do and what not to do, right? So you just want to go through it as fast as possible. So let's talk about proof. So proof does beat everything. You can have the best pitch in the world, but if nobody believes you, it doesn't matter, right? So if I'm a broker and I'm potentially using myself as a case study on my ad. So for example, say I throw up an ad. I say I'm recruiting in my local market, like in Vancouver, and I'm a broker, and I throw up an ad saying that, hey, real estate agents in Vancouver, over the past 5 years, I've been averaging $500,000 a year in personal income, and using the so and so method, using the so and so agent growth system, and I've been in real estate for 10 years, for 15 years, and this is something that I discovered super early on in my career, and through a lot of trial and error, and through a lot of experiments, I sort of discovered this 3-step process to make $500,000 a year as a real estate agent. Well, step number one is you need to learn how to self-generate your own leads. You gotta learn Facebook ads, you gotta learn Instagram ads, and you gotta throw up a budget to it. So if I make that claim, but I don't back it up with proof, nobody is gonna believe you. Okay. So if we're running an ad on Facebook, you want to try your best to collect as much proof as possible. As much proof as possible. So just an example is for some people, they might find it a little bit corny, a little bit cheesy. But sometimes, like, you gotta take a screenshot of like an agent commission check, and you gotta throw it up onto a screen so that when an agent does book a call with you and they jump on a Zoom meeting with you, you're able to show that to them. That is a form of proof, in a way. If you have an agent that jumps on a meeting and then you show them a video recording of another agent that joined 6 months ago, but now they're doing 10K a month or whatever, you want to get access to that, video recording, and you want to present it. Proof is really the best form of marketing. If you have the ability to show proof in your marketing, that is going to outweigh anything that you would have ever otherwise have said. So, Anne says, how long do you wait before you redo your ads if it's not converting? So typically, we do give 21 days before we make a judgment that we may need to re-record ads. Typically 7 days is a good enough time to see if an ad is going to work or not. And then we give it an extra week or two. Because sometimes we can have a very shitty week with Facebook and, you simply can't do anything about it. But 2 to 3 weeks is a good enough time to get a good understanding of an ad. And if it's not converting, you just got to redo it, right? And now there's 2 different ways. I mean, you can either, opt in, where our professional team of actors and actresses, studio, videographer can do everything for you. Or you can, re-record your own ads, right? And then we'll give you the strategy and everything that you need in order to record these better advertisements. But it is generally one of the highest leverage things that you can do with your time, simply because that is a video that you're putting out there for people to see. If there's 5,000 agents in your market, you have 5,000 potential realtors that can come join your brokerage. So if that is your market size, you want to make sure that you're putting the best ad in front of them that is going to convert them at the highest level. So the ad is sort of the first step of the entire funnel, right? What is like the first point of contact that an agent may have with the brokerage? Well, it's by clicking on your ad, right? So if your ad is not good enough, I do suggest putting in effort into it. Before the 21 days, how much ad spend do we have to allocate? Because you said before any changes, try to do more. Yeah, so basically, if you're spending about $50 a day, after 14 days, you're gonna have spent about $750, and then by 21 days, you would have had spent about like $900 to less than $1,000. So that is a good enough time, right? If you do spend $1,000, right, on an ad. So in a local market, it, since we don't have that many people looking at your ad, and since the ad budget is so small, since the ad budget is so small, um, you do have to give it a little bit more time, right? At $50 a day, right? So, uh, you do want to give it about 2 to 3 weeks before making a judgment call that your ad is not working, and then we need to go back to the drawing board, and then we rewrite the script, and we get them recorded again. Okay. But guys, the fundamental reason is if you're having a hard time converting people, like you have people coming to a Zoom meeting, you have people talking to you, but you're just having a very hard time converting them. Think about, like, do you even have proof that you can show? And the proof could even be like your own personal case study as yourself, as an agent. It could be related to income level. It could be related to another agent that you've helped in the past. So you gotta have proof. Otherwise, your marketing is gonna fall flat, if you know what I mean. So let me quickly check chat before I move on. Monique says, do you provide virtual assistants to help convert leads for a fee? So we don't have like an I-State service, but if that is sort of what you're asking, or sort of like virtual assistants that may follow up on your behalf, we don't have that. But what we do have is we have a chatbot that we're introducing that we're going to be pushing out very soon. But it will basically follow up with all of your leads for you. And then it does a lot of the qualification. And towards the end of the conversation is when you'll take over the conversation towards the end of that. But just think of like a chatbot that you may or may have used on your buyer and seller lead gen side for your own real estate business. So it's very similar to that. But another thing is your offer. So I think Angie did ask about offers. So I think this will be a good add-on. But any broker that we talk to, typically whenever we ask them like, hey, what is your guys' unique selling proposition? What makes you different? If I'm an agent in your market, why would I come join your brokerage versus the brokerage down the street? Like, what is it that you guys have that other brokerages don't have? And a lot of brokers that we talk to this sort of question sort of throws them off guard. But realistically, like, you should have the answer to that. So most brokers, they end up saying, we have great culture. Well, what does that even mean, to be honest? Like, what does that mean to have great culture? Like, how do I measure that? We have great training. Well, every brokerage in the world does say, they have great training on their website. You can go to any brokerage in the world, they'll say like, we have great training. Well, how do we know? The competitive splits. Once again, you're gonna attract the wrong person. That's not really an offer. An offer is related to helping an agent make money fast. Essentially meaning we help agents close more deals fast. Risk is sort of, we'll get into examples, but some of the risk that an agent may have when they do join your brokerage is that, they're going to pay a desk fee. They're going to pay, maybe they're going to sign up for a CRM that you recommend, but there's typically fees that they're going to pay when they join your brokerage. Maybe you have an onboarding fee. But the offer is going to win, and I'll get into some examples of offers that you can make to agents in your market. So we have a library of 12 proven offers that we've sort of discovered and that we've developed over the years through trial and error, that okay, these offers convert, these offers don't convert, and this is what brokers should be doing more of. But I want everyone to just take a few seconds and to read these sort of offers. But these are just some examples of proven offers that you can implement in your area. And I could talk more about why each offer does work and how they work. But you can't be going into a market and saying that, hey, we're just going to offer better training, better culture, better splits, when you're going to have the exact same message as everyone else. If you're saying the same thing what everyone else is saying, you're not going to be seen. It's sort of like if you're in a stadium and say you go to a concert and you're screaming at the top of your lungs and you're yelling, no one's going to be able to hear you because you have a bajillion other people that are screaming as well. So if you have a message, your message needs to be unique, needs to be different, and it needs to stand out from the crowd so it gets attention. So these are just some examples, and I can go through each one, and I can sort of break down as to why they work. And these are just 6 that are presented out of the 12 that we do have. And if you feel like your offer is not good enough and you're getting people coming in through the advertisements, but you're just having a hard time converting them, it may mean that we gotta have a little bit of a tough conversation. We gotta talk to your support rep. So if you're with Arjun, who's a client success director, you may need to have a conversation with them into potentially changing up your offer or what it is that we're putting out there in front of people. If you don't have a strong enough offer and you're not giving people a good enough reason to take action, and your offer doesn't stand out from the crowded marketplace that realistically everyone is in, you're really holding back your growth. So let me run you through a few examples as to why they also work really well. This is in my opinion, this is one of the most valuable parts of today's workshop. So I really want to make sure I spend time on this. So if we take a look at offer number 1, it says double your production in 1 year, guaranteed, or we run ads for you for free until you catch up. So imagine if you went into your market and you started running an ad that, hey, if you're a real estate agent in Vancouver, Canada, I guarantee you that if you come join my brokerage, we're going to double your production in 1 year. And if we aren't able to do so, we'll run marketing on your behalf to help you reach that goal. Now think about that. It's guaranteed, so there's no risk for the agent. In 1 year, right? So we're speaking to an outcome that an agent wants. What is an outcome that an agent wants? Well, they want to make more money. They want to close more deals. And one of the reasons why they would want to switch brokerages is so that the other broker or the other brokerage will help them or they will provide a better platform for them to do better and to succeed. So you're speaking to an end outcome, you're removing risk, and you're giving a benefit to them as well, right? So how would you fulfill upon this, right? So maybe some of you guys are thinking like, oh, like, do I gotta give them Zillow leads or, do I gotta put a budget towards them? This could be your hook to get the attention, right? So just think about a hook to get the attention. And if an agent does ask, like, what do you mean? Like, we run ads for you for free until you catch up. You can say that, hey, if at the end of the 1 year you do not double your production, we'll put $500 a month for 3 months behind advertising you as an agent. Right? That is just one example. Right? So you're essentially just putting $1,500 on the line. But realistically, no one at the end of 1 year is going to be like, hey, Mr. or Mrs. Broker, like you promised this to me, like, 12 months ago. And although you gave me so much support, so much coaching, and you helped me so much, I want you to fulfill upon that guarantee that you made to me like a year ago. No one's realistically going to do that. But if you do get that happen, like that would be part of the agreement, right? But what this really does is it makes you stand out from the marketplace. It really makes you stand out. Like you're not coming out of you're not sort of within the crowd. Like you're different. This is your unique selling proposition, right? So why would I want to go join a brokerage? Well, I would want to make more money. I would want to close more deals. I want a broker that is going to help me, support me, potentially even give me leads, right? Second offer, make more in year 1 than you did last year, guaranteed. Or we double your lead flow until you do. So what are we suggesting in this offer? We're saying, hey, Mr. Agent or Mrs. Agent, oh, last year you made 50 grand. Well, we're going to help you make more than 50K in 2026 if you come join us here at so-and-so Realty. And it's guaranteed. And if you're not able to do so, I'll personally give you leads that you can go and convert. Right? So what is that? So what are you even putting on the table here? Right? This is a great hook. It's going to make your advertisement work even better. So if you're promoting this in your local market, this is going to get people raising their eyebrows. This is what is going to get people clicking on your ad. So how would you fulfill upon this? We can all brainstorm here as well. Like, I mean, this is a community. We can all chit chat about, how we can fulfill upon this. But one of the ways that you can do so and fulfill upon this is you can mention that, hey, I'll put $500 a month in Facebook ad spend to help fulfill upon this, or I'll personally give you 3 of my listings to help you cover up because you never made money, right? But this is just an example. You're talking to the end outcome, what they want, right? Now for some realtors, maybe they only want listings, right? Maybe every agent wants a listing, right? There's less work, and that is a big one that everyone wants. You could even offer that, hey, we're gonna guarantee that we're gonna help you get a listing and sell it within 60 days, or it's on us. What that basically means, it's on us, is that you're gonna waive any fee or their splits on the first deal. That is basically what that means. And we're just saying it in a fancy way so we get a realtor's attention and we get them coming in. Right. So I really want you guys to pay attention to this. Sometimes you do have to make a big, grand promise to get the hook, to get the person's attention, to get the person coming to you. But once they do come in, you're able to over deliver. So for example, if an agent comes and joins your brokerage, maybe for this offer, they'll join and they'll be thinking to themselves like, okay, like I gotta get my first listing, and sell it within 60 days or whatever. Even if you don't fulfill upon that, because you build such a good relationship with them, there's such good rapport, and you're providing so much value, so much coaching, so much training, you're holding that agent's hand, they're not gonna go anywhere, and they're not gonna ask for anything, right? But another offer that you can make is like 3 listing appointments in 60 days, or the first 3 listings are on us. What that basically means is that you waive whatever it is that you would have otherwise charged or taken as a cut for that listing. Another one is 10 appointments with buyers or sellers guaranteed in 30 days, right? So these are like, guys, like we have 12 proven offers. If you feel like you're in a super competitive market, your market is super saturated, or maybe your market is too small, talk to your account rep, and we'll tell you like this is the offer that we recommend. Because guys, you guys got to look at it from our perspective as well. We have so many accounts that we're taking a look at on a day-to-day basis, like hundreds. We know which brokerage is performing at the best level. We know that. So if we're recommending something to you, that recommendation is coming from a perspective of looking at over 100 or a few hundred accounts. We wouldn't be recommending something to you if we have not seen it work. So we have 12 proven offers, and if you feel like your ads are not good enough, or you're having a hard time converting people when you're on the recruiting call, on the Zoom meeting, let us know, and we will tell you that, okay, here are 12. Pick the one that you like, and we'll run the marketing for you, and we'll have people coming in for you. Okay. The last one here is a first appointment with a qualified buyer or seller within 72 hours guaranteed, or your first deal is on us. Once again, what do agents want? They want buyers and sellers. They want qualified people. They want people that are pre-approved. They want sellers that are ready to make a move, ready to sell. The first deal is basically that you waive any fee. Okay. But these are just some examples of making everything work, and a very high leverage activity that all of you guys can do. Okay. This is sort of the message you're putting out there into the world to get people to come over to you. Okay. So like I said, we recommend that everyone are running direct to face, direct to camera video ads. And like I said, if you want to record your own, that is great. There's a lot of pros as well, a lot of benefits if you're recording your own advertisement. So for example, if you're putting your face out there, so for example, like we have a professional actress, right? If we put a professional actress's face out there on behalf of your brokerage, she's technically she's like a quote unquote team member for your brokerage. But if you put your own face out there, there might be an agent that you've worked with in the past where maybe you provided some tips to this one agent, or maybe you helped out another agent, or maybe that other agent had a really good time working with you. they'll just naturally DM you, and you're generally building your own sort of personal brand if you are putting your own face out there. So there is pros and cons to each one, but there's nothing wrong with recording your own ads. I mean, you're building your own brand. People will be DMing you. People will be reaching out to you. You have a little bit more higher status, since you're sort of in the ad, and you can really build a reputation, in your local market. But of course, if recording ads is not something that you like to do, and you simply don't have the time, of course, you can opt in for, of course, our team of professional actors, right? So she has this is just one of our actresses. Her name is Ariana, and out of all the ones that we do have, it seems like she's a agent attraction IO favorite from a lot of the brokers that we work with. But you got to choose, who you want in your advertisements, and we can make it happen for you, right? But this is one of the highest leverage things that you can do, because if 100 people take a look at your ad, but only 2 click when you're recording your own ads, that is a 2% conversion rate. Now, say that ad was just recorded better, and now we up that conversion rate from 2% to 4%. Now you're essentially getting double the amount of lead flow for the same amount of ad spend, simply because you made your ads better. Okay. So sometimes the answer is not even to spend more money. You just got to optimize your current thing better and just make it better. And then you can eventually spend more. Okay. So like I said, this is like a framework that I really, think about every day. It's sort of a framework that I stand by, and I always think about it in this sort of order, which is more, better, and then new. If something is working, you do more of it. What are some examples? You're running an ad, you're spending $50 a day, you're consistently generating 1 to 2 leads per day. You just got to do more of it. You just got to spend more money. If your cost per acquisition, which everyone should have that number, how much is it costing me to recruit a new agent? If that number is lower than how much an agent is worth to you, you just got to do more of it. Better is improving what you're already doing, right? So in our case, when we're advertising for you, if you're recording your own ads, we will ask this from you. But a lot of times, sometimes we refrain from asking because, a lot of you guys are busy, and then a lot of you guys are on a time crunch. But if you can, and you're not getting enough people coming in, sometimes all you got to do is just record some new ads and just send it to the support team, and then we'll just relaunch the ads and we'll pull something fresh out there into the market. And that will just automatically get in more interest, right? So that is doing better. And if you really want to take this one step further, and you can always opt in for us to do the advertisements and just get them recorded by our team. Now, the new is this is only after you maxed out the more and the better, right? So new could be something like, I want to try this new style of ads or whatever, right? Maybe you want to run like in a podcast style ad where you're sitting down for an interview with another agent, and you guys are doing a podcast, and we take clips out of that and we run that as an ad. That would be something new, but we really never have to do that. We just got to do more and better, which is sort of like a framework. Liz says, can you put the link here for white label ads so we can access? Yes, I can do that towards the end of the call here. But this is something, this is sort of like general knowledge of the advertisements that we'll be running for you on your behalf. So for example, if you do allow us to run one of these offers, so for example, if you do allow us and you give us permission to run one out of the 12 offers that we have access to, these are typically the only ads we'll ever run for you, because these convert at a very high level. If you allow us to, if you give us permission, because sometimes, we do talk to a broker, and then sometimes they're sort of constrained by their brokerage rules and regulations, and sometimes there's a lot of compliance stuff that comes into consideration. Sometimes there's so many people that are involved into the decision-making process when it's related to recruiting that we have limited control. But if you're like an independent, we typically have the problem with the franchises, but if you're like an independent or like a local boutique, if you allow us to run an offer, we'll simply just run like offer driven ads, and these will convert at the highest level, and they will always convert very fast. If you have really good case studies, so for example, if you yourself has done very well as a real estate agent, like you've you know uh you've done multiple six figures, maybe six figures as an agent, you're already part of like the 10% if you've already done that. Because 9 out of 10 realtors quit real estate within 5 years. So if you've still stuck around, you're making six figures, we can run that case study as an ad, and any agent that is not currently at six figures, they will be clicking on that and they'll be reaching out to you. So like I said, the offer ads are typically the ones that perform the best, and you need to give us permission to allow us to run those ones. But the other ones are the proof driven, and these typically work really well because if you have really strong proof and you've just done very well as an agent, these will get a lot of attention, right? The promise drivens are these are more so like this is more so like educational. Okay. So sometimes we just so if you don't allow us to run an offer and you don't have a good case study, then we have to our only option is to lead with a an educational sort of hook in a way. So this is where you may we may run an ad like, hey, here's the fastest way to double your production in 12 months using so and so, and then we'll get into the like the educational portion of it. The pain driven is we're reaching out to people that are super in pain. So depending on your situation, we'll run the ad that is gonna convert at the highest level, and we'll work our way down if you don't allow us to run a specific ad. But they typically start off with the offer driven, and then if you have really good proof, which I recommend everyone collecting, that we can run a proof driven ad, which then can eventually lead into an educational driven ad, which then eventually goes to pain driven. So we typically like to work our way down through this entire list. But like I said, guys, earlier, if advertisement is not working for you, then it's likely we're not putting the right message out there, right? So sometimes, if try number one doesn't work, we got to try it again. If try two doesn't work, we got to try one more time. Eventually, we'll just get closer and closer and closer. We'll just keep chipping away, and then we'll get closer to the truth, and we'll find the answer. All right. And says, if we're new to this marketing system, how do you suggest we align the testimonials we have in the past when we succeeded using old marketing? And all you have to do is reach out to your account manager, and I mentioned that, hey, here's a proof that I have. Here's my own best case study, which you likely already did on the onboarding form. But you would mention that, hey, here's my best year in real estate. I did 300K in GCI or 500K in GCI or whatever. Or maybe you have proof from another agent that you've helped or that is currently part of your brokerage, whatever the case may be. And then if you can get like proof. So when I'm talking about proof, I'm talking about, I remember we had one client that got her tax returns and she just showed how much income she made, and you can't fake that. We had I've had a team leader show their P&L. You can't fake that. I've had people show, their commissions, like their GCI, like people have showed, like you want to show real proof to get people to believe you, because people, no one likes to believe anyone in today's day and age, right? So proof is sort of essential, right? So the way I like to think about proof and marketing is, imagine if I got accused for murder, but I didn't actually commit murder, and how to now go to court, how to prove myself, innocent. What sort of proof would I sort of showcase? I would go to bat to sort of find any sort of proof that I could potentially find, which will prove my innocence, right? So what would that mean, right? So imagine I know I like to go a little bit extreme with the examples, but that's the way you want to think about it. If you're saying that you're making 500K a year, show the damn proof. Like show the best sort of proof you can show, and then people will appreciate that. People will like the honesty, people will like the transparency, and they'll be far more inclined and they'll convert at a much higher level as well, just because of that form of respect and transparency. Okay. But anything that you can get that we can use as leverage on the marketing level, just send it to us, right? So for example, if you have your tax returns and you don't have any issue showing it, send it to us. We'll screenshot it and we'll throw that up in the ad, right? And imagine if another agent in the market is looking at that tax return, and you know they're gonna really believe you, right? So that is just one example, right? I remember I had another client who he's like a big team leader here in Van, and he ordered like a $800,000 Ferrari, and you know he he showed the exact like paperwork for him buying that Ferrari, and he uses that as sort of like an attraction magnet to bring more people into his team, and that works out really well for him because of course you know you can't fake that, right? So that is just one example of proof, right? So he went to that extent. He showed all of the paperwork that you know I bought this car, right? So that is just one example. Now let's get into hooks, right? So whenever we're thinking about an advertisement, this is more so for your own general knowledge if you're recording your own ads. And this is more so knowledge, you know, if we're doing the advertisements for you. Typically, the hook, you can define a hook as the first 5, 10, 15 seconds of an ad. That is sort of the 80% of the battle. That is the hardest part of the ad. When people are scrolling through social media, right? So if I'm scrolling through TikTok and I'm scrolling through like, you know, Instagram or whatever, someone has to get my attention very fast for me to stop scrolling and to pay attention to the ad. Think about the amount of energy that it takes to get someone's attention. You're not only competing with other people on Instagram, on TikTok, on Facebook, but you're competing with even the big companies in a way, right? You're competing with, we're essentially competing with like a music artist. We're competing with, you know, beautiful women on social media. So you have to get people's attention. So the first 5 to 15 seconds of an ad are the most vital. So if you are gonna, it's sort of like the 80-20 rule, the Pareto principle. 20% of 80% of the 20% of the work will generate like 80% of the results. Okay. So if you are gonna be recording your own ad, spend the most amount of time, energy, and effort into recording the first 5 to 15 seconds of the ad, right? And if we're giving you a script, we're giving the script to you for a reason. It's proven. You just got to make sure you just, you know, really put effort into the ad to get it to perform. Okay. But like I said, I'm always thinking about leverage. How do we get the most out for the least amount of in? How do we get the greatest amount of output for the least amount of input? That is leverage. And when it comes to a video ad, the hook is where you can get that sort of output for the least amount of effort. Okay. Now let's get into the entire funnel that we're running for you, just so everyone has like a clear understanding of what's happening in the background as you do have people reaching out to you as these conversations are taking place. We found Instagram and Facebook to be the two best platforms when it comes to, you know, bringing a qualified agent. Of course, you know, you don't want to just bring a newly licensed agent or an agent that has not produced. Because if you want to find those people and you want to recruit in the masses and you just want to bring bodies in, the best place to do so would be Indeed, right? So Indeed would be the best place for that. Because a producer is not going to be on Indeed. A producing agent is not going to be looking for a job on Indeed. So you cannot, you know, simply just, so if you're genuinely trying to find a qualified agent, someone that is potentially going to cap, they're a producer and they're seasoned, the only way to really do so that we found that the two platforms are Facebook and Instagram. We tried Google in the past. Google's far more expensive, that it doesn't make sense for anyone here to really push. And then we've done YouTube as well, but the best result that we found so far is Facebook and Instagram. Now with the Facebook and Instagram, you can typically run an image ad or you can run a video ad. We found video ad to be it far outperforms a picture ad, simply due to the fact that they can see your face, they can hear your voice. There's a real human that they're listening and then they're watching. It builds far more trust and rapport, and they're far more likely and far more probable to click on that ad. And then from there, they end up on a landing page. They go to a VSL page, and that is where either you have recorded your own VSL or we've provided one to you. But the entire funnel has bottlenecks, which is why we have a massive tracking sheet in the background where we can track that where in the entire straight line there's bottlenecks, where there's leakage, where things are leaking through. Okay, so our job as Agent Attraction IO is to identify those constraints and those bottlenecks and those leakages, and we have to fill those in as fast as possible. But like I said, if people are not clicking on your ad, we may just give you a new script to record new ads and you record them. Now, if people are clicking, but they're not giving you their name, email, and phone number, we may adjust the last 10 to 15 seconds of the ad, which is a call to action, right? Maybe it is not enticing enough to get someone to click and give you their name, email, and phone number. Now, when you get someone to give you their name, email, and phone number, maybe they're not filling out this long form application. Ideally, we want people to be answering all of this stuff, right? It lets us know that are they a solo agent? Who are they licensed with? How many deals that they've done in the past? Is this sort of like a newer agent? What is their goal? What is their bottleneck? And are they even willing? Do they even have the urgency and the timing to want to switch brokerages, right? So, for example, this one lead came in for one of our brokerage partners, and this is a solo agent. They've done 6 to 15 deals in the past 1 year. They're definitely seasoned. They're producing, and their goal is to make about 200K to 350K a year. If nothing changes, they're gonna be in the same place, and they're ready to switch brokerages, right? So we start identifying, okay, we're getting name, email, and phone number, but people are not filling out this application here. How do we get more people to fill this out? And then say people do end up booking a call with you, but they're not showing up, then we solve that constraint too. There's a lot of different ways to solve your show up rate. Okay. We're internally as a company, at any given day, we may wake up to 40 to 50 real estate brokers across the United States that are booking a call with us to speak with my team. And we're at scale maintaining an above 70 to 75% show up rate on these calls. That basically means that for every 10 brokers that do book on our calendar, these are busy individuals, they're entrepreneurs, they're running businesses, they have families, they're taking care of their own health. We're getting 7 out of 10 to show up to their scheduled time. So if you're dealing with a below 50% show up rate, that is a conversation that you need to have with your account manager, and we can solve that constraint for you. So what that basically might mean, we got to introduce some automated reminders, some manual reminders. We may need to use an iPhone. We may need to call prior to the demo to get the person to be more likely to show up. But the entire process is a funnel, and then we just start filling in the cracks. Okay. But let's talk about targeting, right? So this is something that we do internally for you as a partner, but this is just something that is good for you guys to know as to why we do this. But so when you first come in as a client, of course, we don't have any data, right? We don't have any data. It's sort of like if you were to start a brand new ChatGPT account, if you start up a brand new ChatGPT account with a brand new email, that ChatGPT OpenAI is not going to have any data on you, right? You're going to start from scratch. But if you've been using like an aged GPT account, where GPTs over time collected a lot of data on you, who you are, your interests, and what you like to do, what you do for work. Maybe you might be asking GPT some personal stuff. They over time they build data. Very similarly, with Facebook, when it comes to targeting, we're building data as we're spending more money on marketing. So for example, when you first come in as a client, we start you off by just targeting basically everyone in the market. And the algorithm on its own will learn who is an agent, who is not an agent. And because of the messaging, they'll target the agent. But after you get 100 people giving their name, email, and phone number, that is when we'll make the decision in the background. This is not something that we typically tell our clients, but in the background, we'll make a lookalike. We'll make a lookalike audience of everyone that opted in and gave you their name, email, and phone number. Now, what that basically means in very simple terms is that anyone that is giving you their information, they're showing interest, we try to find more of those people. And then step number 3, phase number 3 is once you get 100 real estate agents booking a call with you automatically, then we create a lookalike audience of these people which are further down the funnel. And we try to find more realtors in your market that are very likely to book a call with you. Okay. So we keep working our way down. And then once you recruit real estate agents as well, we can take that customer file, we can take their name, emails, and phone numbers, and we can throw that into Facebook, and the Facebook matches it with their account, and then we're able to create a lookalike off of that too. But basically, this in the background, we're building a pixel for you, which is getting optimized, and over time, you're just gonna get that targeting is just gonna get better and better, basically. It's sort of like if you had a GPT account, right? Over time, if you use a ChatGPT for like a whole year, basically ChatGPT is gonna know your whole life story, basically, right? You'll be surprised with the sort of conversations people have with ChatGPT, right? They trust them with basically everything. So Facebook targeting is very similar. We collect that data, we store that data, and then over time, the targeting is only going to get better and better. Okay, over time. So this is sort of like a competitive moat for you against other brokerages in your market. Now, a brand. So I did say earlier that I wanted to touch on brand. So we are getting super close to the 2-hour mark. So I want to quickly zoom through this. But when it comes to brand, I do recommend everyone here to at least post some content, right? So for example, I was talking about like the restaurant example. If I had a dinner date planned tonight, I'm trying to find a restaurant. If I find a restaurant who asked me to post on Facebook or Instagram like 5 years ago, I'm gonna be far less likely to show up to that restaurant because I'm just gonna assume that maybe they're not as profitable. Maybe they don't have a team that is taking care of the social media. If they don't even have the money to fund their social media accounts, potentially their food is not going to be the best. Maybe they don't have the best service, and that it just leads into this rabbit hole, basically, right? So if you have try to invest into Trustpilot, try to invest into Google reviews, get testimonials from your agents, maybe do a sit down interview with all of your best performing agents, and try to use that material as further social proof and content, and then you can further push it out. But if you are in your own ads and in your own video ads, you are automatically in a way building a brand too. If you keep showing your face enough times to people, over time they're going to build rapport. Why is it that if we watch a movie with Tom Cruise, you likely feel like you somewhat already know Tom Cruise. Say you watch a bunch of interviews that Tom Cruise did, or maybe you watched, maybe you follow him on Instagram or whatever. Maybe you're keeping up with his life, who he's with, who he's not with. Over time, you're gonna build, this sort of rapport. And if you were to meet him in person, I don't know if anyone here has met Tom Cruise, but if you ever have a chance to meet him, you're gonna feel like you know him in a way because you've seen so much of his material and his content, which are his movies. But when it comes to conversion rates, our job is to increase conversion rates at every step of the process, right? If you double the show up rate, it is equivalent to doubling your closing rate, right? So sometimes we just got to work on things that we have a lot of control over. But like I said, guys, marketing always works. It's not that it doesn't work. If it just doesn't work for you, as long as you have a big enough market, right? As long as you have a big enough market, there's really no excuse as to if it doesn't work. That just means that we have a wrong message, um, or we got the wrong person or the wrong timing. Okay. So it doesn't mean that it doesn't work as long as you're not constrained by your market size, which is the case for some people that we work with. The market is super like small. Then you have to make some adjustments. And sometimes you can have a hard conversation with yourself that, hey, am I going to be limited and capped to the amount of people that are in my market, or am I going to make the decision and a conclusion to potentially switch over to maybe a national brokerage where I can recruit on a national level, and then I'll open up my market size from maybe 2,000 people to now like 1.5 million realtors that are licensed in the United States, right? And maybe you might start building a downline. Okay, so this is just sort of like an idea that I'm just putting out there. So as long as market size is not the problem, like your marketing should be working for you. If you're new to the system, to the BAP system, we basically do everything for you, except one thing, which is you gotta show up to the appointment and you gotta, talk. You gotta have that conversation with the agent, and then you also gotta, follow up with the people that we are sending your way, right? So, for example, if you received this agent lead, an agent that is making that is closing 6 to 15 deals a year, they're dealing with systems and people problems. If you don't follow up with this lead here, of course, Daniela, I did book a demo with one of our partners, but if that person didn't book a call, like you wouldn't need to follow up with that individual, right? You would have to follow up with that individual. If you don't follow up, then the whole system is just going to collapse, right? It's not going to work. Action items. So like I said earlier, what is learning? Learning is same condition, but new behavior. If you don't implement anything that you learn from today's masterclass, so for everyone that is on the call, you've stuck with me for 2 hours now. If you don't implement anything that was mentioned in today's masterclass, you essentially did not learn anything. So I want to go over some of the bigger macro level action items that everyone can start implementing ASAP. And this will get you those exponential results. Number one, start collecting proof, right? Start collecting proof. So I just want to give you guys a quick example of like how we do it internally as a company as well. So for example, if you go to our website, we tend to do these interviews, and anytime we talk to a client and they have really good words to say for us, we'll clip it out and we'll run it. We'll post it on the website. We'll potentially run it as an ad. We'll post it on Facebook. We'll post it on Instagram. But you want to get that sort of social proof. You need that sort of proof in order to get your marketing to actually work. Okay, so you can't fake real people. You can't fake. I mean, maybe nowadays you could with AI avatars, but for the most part, people can typically tell right now in 2026. It may not be the case in 2027, but people can still tell right now, what videos made with real people and which ones made with AI, right? So if you have that, it's such a big leverage point that you need that in your marketing, right? So testimonial content, case studies, if you have that, send it to us and we just throw it all up in your marketing, and it's just going to make the entire system work better. Post once a week, even if it's ugly, right? So like I said, like I said earlier, if you Google a restaurant and their last post is from 2022, are you gonna eat there? Probably not. Personally, myself, I probably won't. But you don't need to go viral. What I'm really talking about is like you need to show people that you have a pulse, right? That you're basically alive and well in a way. So I mean, you could just simply do that with posting on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. You want to show people that there are signs of life, right? And that is going to help the entire system work better, right? So for example, if you go to our YouTube channel, like I said earlier, we don't pull the craziest amount of views, maybe 20, 30, 40, 50. but we're just posting. So anyone that comes through our marketing, because we are spending what, like 160, 70 grand a month, 160 grand a month for our marketing. We simply just post so we can show people that, there's pulse, right? Now, the third action item is you want to reply to every lead within 5 minutes, right? There was this one study done. I forget the exact numbers, but if you contact a lead within 5 minutes rather than waiting for 2 hours, the conversion rates go up by like 100 and something percent. You essentially double the likelihood you're gonna talk to a lead or to an agent if you call them within 5 minutes. So when you're getting like an application like this coming in, when you have an agent booking on your calendar, call them, have a conversation. The conversation that you would have otherwise had on that recruiting appointment, you can have that super early on, right? You can have it super early on and you can pre-qualify them, right? Figure out, are they the right fit for your brokerage? Do they have a problem? Where they're currently at? Are they closing, 5 deals a year? They want to get to 20 deals a year. What is stopping them? Maybe they don't have enough lead flow. Maybe they don't know how to self-generate their own leads, whatever that constraint is there. Then you come in and you make a little elevator pitch, and then they're far more likely to now show up for that in-person meet or the Zoom meeting or the recruiting call or whatever. But you find out where people are, where they want to get to, what is stopping them from getting there. You get their urgency level, which is their timing. You make sure that they're the authority figure to make a decision, and then you get them booked in. And then you can do that beforehand. But this one, number 4 is related to your brand and your reputation. If you can get a Google review, please do. Let's get some Google reviews in there, and then that should definitely help. And item number 5 is sometimes we do get clients that are they're a little bit tech savvy, so sometimes we sort of expect them to give us feedback that, oh, I think you should change this on the phone. I don't like this editing, or I don't like these colors here. This doesn't go with my brand. Sometimes we do make adjustments simply because it is your brand that we're putting out there. But if we're doing something for you, there's typically a reason as to why we're doing it. So a lot of times we don't like touching the funnel or try messing around with things too much. Simply for the fact that something is working, you want to do more of it, and you don't want to stop. And like I said, we do all the testing with our own money for our own company. We find what's working, and we push it out to our brokerage partners. Anything that is not working, we just cut it out, throw it out, never do it again, basically, right? So we're sort of like the guinea pig. We're the ones that are losing money when it comes to testing and everything. Item 6. If there's a big objection that you guys get on a recruiting appointment, that could be related to like, oh, how are you guys different from this other broker, or how exactly do you guys support me, or what is the growth plan within your brokerage? Do you guys have or like whatever, whatever things that do come up on a recruiting call. The best way to handle this is even before they jump on a call with you, right? So if there is an objection that you just keep getting, send it to us and we can help you address that objection before they even talk to you. There's a huge amount of leverage in that. Right. So imagine if you're getting 5 objections on a call, but they were all addressed and handled before they even came on the call with you. So there would be a huge amount of leverage and output out of that. So if you're getting a lot of objections, I would highly recommend that you guys send that to us, and that we can push it out to your marketing, to the marketing. But at last, guys, the entire system works. The proof is there. But it is not going to work, like I said right at the beginning of the call. This is a two-way partnership. If you sort of drop the ball in some aspects of the system, it is simply not going to work, right? So pick a few action items, try to help us as much as you can. And then of course, we're already doing everything that we're supposed to be doing, and then we'll take care of a lot of it. But guys, we'll Open up for Q&A for the next 5 minutes. And I know we went a little bit overboard. I was planning to end this off on the 45th minute mark, so we can have 15 minutes for Q&A. But if you guys find value, if you guys did find value into this trading, please put that in the chat or let me know. And if you guys do have anything for me that you'd like me, for me to re-clarify and go over again, I would definitely be happy to do that as well. But super long training. I went through the way I like to think first, and then we sort of applied it to marketing. So yeah, so Kate says, I liked what you said. Success stops when you don't know how to do something. That is true. There's one thing that is currently holding holding your business back from growing. You need to identify that. And then once you identify it, you need to attack it with sort of like an atomic bomb and get that solved. Because then you're gonna grow, but then you're gonna reach another bottleneck, right? And that is sort of like the cycle that you go through. There's a problem, there's one big problem, solve it, you grow. Okay, there's another constraint here. Okay, you solve that. All right, now you grow a little bit, and then there's another constraint, you solve that, and then you grow again. And then you just keep going through that cycle again and again and again. I need a refresh. What's the best way to do that? What exactly do you mean? I need a refresh. What's the best way to do that? Megan says, do you have done for you ad system to generate buyer and seller pre-built system? Oh, buyer and seller. Megan, you can DM us on Slack. We do have something when it comes to buyer and seller lead gen, which is done for you, which we don't advertise. We actually reserve that exclusively for our higher tier clients. Typically when you go through the entire system, that is sort of one of the things that we do like to bring up towards the end of the system. But if you're interested, Megan, I'll ping your account manager, and he could bring up the conversation about done for you buyer and seller lead gen. But basically everything that we do for our company to attract, real estate brokers like yourself that are super busy to come work with us, we do that for you on a local market level where you're attracting other real estate agents that want to switch brokerages. And then a step below that is generating buyers and sellers. So Megan, I can definitely ping the team on that. So Liz, I'll reach out to the team for that as well. So Liz and Megan, I'll get that taken care of. Aline says, I just went live yesterday, so I'm excited to see how this goes. Yeah. So Aline, I mean, you're going to be getting leads coming in. You're going to have, agents in your local market filling out these long form applications, and they're going to be applying to come work with you. So one of the biggest things that you can do to really help us is just to ensure that you're following up with these sort of people, and you're conducting the appointment and you're converting them. Because you're only going to continue spending more money on marketing if you're actually getting a return on the system, right? And then how do we get a return on the system? Well, number one, you follow up with the people we're sending your way, and then you convert the people that we're sending your way, and then you help the people make your brokerage revenue through your coaching, through your training, through your support, so that you continue paying us in a way. So it all starts there. Tina says, I got messed up mentally in the cycle. Slow go, and I'm learning to trust the system and process. Yeah. Yeah, like one thing that I do believe in is momentum. So when you have something that is working for you, there's no guarantee that it's going to work for you like 2 years down the road, 5 years down the road. So whenever something is working, you just want to keep pressing the gas pedal and you just want to keep doing more of it. And you don't want to lose momentum, because momentum is one of the hardest things to build. Momentum. For example, we have a sales team, and you know when you're and even you guys, I mean, in a way, you guys have a sales team in a way, the commission only sales team. And you know, when you're working with, I mean, you know, a commission only sales team in a way, uh when someone is hot, you want them to keep going, right? In a way. So for example, if you have like a player, like say you're playing basketball and there's like a player that has just been killing it the past few games and they're crushing it and they're scoring 30, 40 points a game or whatever, you want that player to keep playing until they stop, right? So you don't want to lose momentum, because momentum is very, very difficult to build. It is very, very hard to build. Once you have momentum, you just want to ride the wave in a way, right? You just want to keep riding it. Renee says, I'm so sorry I'm late. Can you summarize a live approach? What do you mean, Renee, in terms of the live approach?
Let me just unmute myself. So did you say something about going live? Was there something you said about going live?
No.
Okay.
Nothing regarding going live.
Okay,
Yeah.
God, missed it. See, I came in late. My bad.
No problem. Yeah, the thing with going live is if we were to go back to thinking about leverage, like right here, leverage, where's the leverage, where's the slide that I made on leverage? Yeah, right here. If you do go live, like on your Facebook or Instagram or really wherever, you're building your brand, you're building reputation. But for me, it would only make sense if you do the live in a way where it can be clipped. So you do like a live, some people join you live, and then you can make a call to action to them. You got the recording, you could post it on YouTube or on Facebook or Instagram, and then you clip it out, and then you get even more out of it. Right? So you're like triple dipping in a way, right?
No, that makes sense. So you basically like have a camera set up while you're doing it so that you can then use it for posts, right? Like to attract. Like if you did like a live training, like essentially like a live coaching call or something.
Yeah, basically, yeah, like if you did like a Zoom live training with your people,
Mm.
so many different things you can do. Like you can throw up two cameras, one to your left, one to your right, and now they're recording you live. Then you get the Zoom recording, and then you can get a bunch of clips which you can use for further marketing, which is going to bring in even more people. And that is just a form of leverage.
Okay, perfect.
Right. So, yeah. All right, guys. I appreciate everyone jumping on today's workshop. Great call. I think we went on for almost 2.5 hours, and hope everyone has a good weekend. Hope everyone found value into this training. That the recording will be posted in school. So if you guys didn't miss anything, you guys can always go back and rewatch it. But basically, the bottom line is I covered leverage, compounding vehicles, flywheels, implementing it towards marketing, and this would be one of the best use cases of your time. If, of course, right now your biggest constraint in your business right now is that you don't have enough interest coming to you, you don't have enough people that are either part of your downline or part of your brokerage. So everything that we discussed today is regarding solving that. So if you guys do need, feel free to go watch it back in school. But thank you all for jumping on today. Appreciate every one of you, and I will see you guys later. Goodbye, guys. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.